Welcome to Jets Rewind. I'm Marty Schupak. I'm joined by my good friend Ralph Schrager in Belmont, Mass, and Ray Clifford in Marysville, Ohio. Uh, we were actually doing this like 24 hours later because Marty's car broke down at the last second before we went on the air. I had to run out and help the missus, and it was a disaster. If you ever break down, don't do it on Sunday nights. And if you have road service with your dealership, it's a waste of time. You might as well do AAA, which I
Does your
love.
does your boss listen to this show?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Anyway, the Jets, they lose. It wasn't even a game. I mean, the first, I guess it was 15 plays by Miami. They went through them, and we're going to get into their defense and everything. It was like a total disaster. It's like they're climbing their way out of a sewer with greased sides. They had no way to getting in. I mean, the way McDaniel toyed with Wilkes, our defensive coordinator, was just ridiculous. And going in as we go deeper into the season, it's amazing. I was thinking about it that the Jets have certain players that were actually doing better under Robert Saleh, and they've actually regressed under this coaching staff. And we were crying for new coaches last year. We thought they were bad. I'm just hoping they're not as bad as I thought. I think we overrated the talent. I mean, when I see our two defense edge pass rushers, McDonald and Johnson, they're not doing anything. I mean, Johnson, he's doing a little bit, but they're not improving at all. I think we have the worst linebackers in the league. Ralph, no offense to you. I mean, Quincy Williams is not improving with this guy. Uh, Damian Sherwood is like the worst. He's horrible. Forget any stats. All you do is see his number 44 chasing down a running back. And it's like I mentioned to Ray yesterday, Ralph. They go through certain streaks where it just seems like their defense is kind of like a scrum right on top of the running back that's carrying them for like 10, 12, 15 yards. It seems it's just
Yeah, it
unbelievable.
reminded me of Marshawn Lynch doing that to them years ago.
Yeah. So I just want your impressions, and I'll get into Brady Cook, and I think a lot of Jet fans are really coming down on him and
Stupid.
stupidly
It's stupid.
saying
Yeah.
how awful he is. And I think they're really
I,
jumping the gun. I'm not
I
going
I just watched every one of his passes. You can Google it. I mean, the guy would have had decent stats. The drops were unbelievable, one
Um,
after another. It was anyway. We'll talk about him a
and we
little
will,
later.
but I just want to throw something in before I want your impressions either. The one thing, besides all the drops, and I knew he threw two red zone interceptions, but I guess it was the second one where A.D. Mitchell did not put up any fight, drove me nuts. I said, "What a bum." He was like almost a spectator. I mean, the guy never should have intercepted that. It was just a gutless move by Mitchell. I'm really disappointed in both Mitchell and Mechie, the M&M boy. So, Ralph, give us your impression, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes.
Well, I mean, my perspective on the Jets, I mean, they had a good run for a few weeks of playing reasonable football, but people expect this to be a linear thing, like they're just going to keep getting better and better without regressing certain games. I mean, even good teams have bad games. I mean, the Jets are not a good team. I'm not surprised that they got killed. They're going to get killed in a few other games this year. They didn't come out and play in this game. To me, the rest of the season is just going to be trying to figure out what they have as far as talent goes. As far as the defense goes, Marty, talking about these guys regressing, I think part of it has to do with it's just a poor scheme. The guy doesn't know what he's doing. I think in a way it was a blessing that this was a disastrous performance because the defense have been playing decently the last few weeks. And it might have been like, well, maybe we'll bring on Steve Wilkes for another year. But, now they have a reminder that they can't bring this guy back. He's just not. Yeah, anyway, he only stays at places one year. Isn't that the deal with
Pretty
Steve
much.
Wilkes?
Right. He's been like one and gone two other times
Yeah.
before. You're
Um,
absolutely right.
I don't like to see guys get injured, but I feel like, from here on in, there's no point in playing either Fields or Taylor because we know what we've got in them, which is basically nothing. We might as well see what we got with Brady Cook. I think it's a win-win. If he's terrible, then we'll lose our games and we'll have a higher draft pick. And if he shows some promise, then maybe we have something to work with and we don't have to trade up for a quarterback, which is going to be, kind of interesting as far as quarterbacks go this year. Um, so it didn't really bother me that much because I expect to see these games. And Mike McDaniel, we don't know what kind of head coach he is. It's probably not a great head coach, but like we've said before, we'll take him as an offensive coordinator any day of the week. He just keeps you
Yeah.
off balance beautifully.
Yeah.
It's and he's done this to the Jets numerous times.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, and I just want to interject, and then we'll get Ray's take. What was driving me nuts, it's like the Jets went for every head fake, every misdirection. I mean, Tua looked like Earl Monroe with his head fake one way going the other way. And it was just ridiculous what they were just like toying with them. But go ahead, Ralph. Anything else you want to
Yeah,
add?
it's just to me that's a sign of poor preparation on their part. They just didn't get their players prepared correctly, and as far as the tackling goes, that's on the players. Uh, you know they everyone was saying the one thing about this team up until this week was they're playing for him, which was true, but they didn't they were flat, and yeah, it happens, but a lot of these guys are fighting for jobs, and they can't afford that kind of stuff. The missed tackles in the secondary have been going on for years with this team. A guy like Moore, every game he does a shoulder tackle and a guy bounces off him a runner and keeps going. He's a tough guy to evaluate at this point. I'm really on the fence about him.
I give him another shot. I'm not that I'm giving him a complete mulligan. On the bad plays, he looks real bad. On the good plays, he looks pretty good.
Yeah,
So, he's a rookie. Ray, what what
right.
what was your take in the game as you were involved with a few hundred people at that Jets bar around Columbus?
Hundreds,
Few
hundreds of
thousands,
Jets.
thousands.
We had to turn them away at the door. I mean, it was,
We got to see this game.
Right. Yeah.
well, first of all, I want to say this is all Bob Wischusen's fault because right before the game, he brought up a stat that the Jets hadn't allowed a opening drive touchdown to the Dolphins in 37 years at home
What? Wow,
since
that's a
Dan
crazy
Marino.
stat.
They got it from Randy Lang, so I know it was legit. But sure enough, he says that, and they go down right down the field on that first drive like nothing and score. I'm like, couldn't you held the back on that stat till after the kickoff and after the first drive or so? But anyway, yeah, there wasn't a lot. I mean, we were only halfway through the first quarter when it was 21 nothing. So, and part of that was because the interception that they had that I didn't think was interception at first, if I'm thinking right, is the one that he
Oh, the one between his
his
legs.
knees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it seemed like the defense was always baffled. Like there was always somebody, and it could have been Waddle, it could have been whoever. They were wide open. I mean, they had all the field for a long time. And and as far as tackling on running back, we make this a chain or a chan, however you pronounce his damn name. We make him look like a Hall of Famer. And I'm not saying he's terrible, but we make him look like unbelievable every time we play him. I mean, and then he gets banged up and the backup comes in and gets 100 yards on us. And I just get tired of watching him try and tackle guys up around the shoulder pads, and then they push them for first downs when they're half the size of the guy trying to tackle them, and they just everybody tackles up high. I don't get it, but most of
Okay,
all,
Ray, just I hate to I don't interrupt you,
no,
but
that's
there
fine.
were a couple of calls on the Jets where they were
Oh,
going low, and it's like
absolutely.
I'm beginning to wonder maybe these guys don't want to go there because they're going
Yeah.
to get called for
And I don't think
ridiculous.
But
really.
one was called a low block, but he went to tackle the guy.
Yeah,
It was a
I know.
horrible call.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and even on the one that the first one they called, the tackle went head first into him. He didn't
Yeah, the
really.
running back, exactly. Yeah, whoever it
So
was. Yeah, he
yeah,
had ducked his head right into him.
so
Yeah. I
I
mean,
didn't get those calls, but and Marty had mentioned about people griping about Cook probably before we started, but he comes in. I thought they said, well, it's 21-0. Let's give him a shot. And then I found out he was injured. So, but I wasn't surprised by how he started out. I mean, we were behind the eight ball on that. I just felt like that there was never a point in this game. Well, there was a brief moment when we did some stuff. I thought we might make it a game, but it was very brief. But
well, Mechie dropped that
dropped a
ball. Yeah,
touchdown
she
yeah,
pass.
dropped the
yeah.
pass.
Which is the same exact thing he did a
So,
week ago. It was a crossing pattern right
Yeah,
about the 5 yard line. Guy's terrible.
he's
He's just
right,
awful.
if he would have
awful.
made that, I
Well,
thought, hey, we're right in it.
can
Okay.
I let me just say something, Ralph? This is because I say this a lot, is that I mean, they might bounce back next week, but I want players that could have good games more than every other week. Give me 3 or 4 weeks in a row that you're going to have good games. This BS of having a good game and then not even showing up physically or emotionally, it's so unprofessional. I mean, we'll get into Brady Cook in a few minutes, but you got to help this rookie guy out. And
Yeah.
in all fairness, even some of his passes, and I hold it up to being a little nervous. Maybe he could have thrown it with a little better touch, but the drops were ridiculous. They really was.
Well, the funny thing about it is there were about three of them. Taylor had one, Ruckert had one, and Brees Hall had one where they were a little above the head.
Yeah.
I got my receiving gloves
I
on.
see that. You see that, Ray?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Ralph, that
did.
is,
I was going to ask
all
you
And
you
before.
watching on YouTube, I hope you saw that.
any
This is
any
we
pro,
we have product placement
yeah,
advertising. So go ahead,
those
Ralph.
are those dribbling gloves. Any pro should catch that ball. But if you think about it, these guys have been in practice and in games for the past few weeks catching Tyrod Taylor, who throws really softly, and Brady
Weak.
Cook
Right.
as a legitimate NFL arm. And I think the balls were coming in too fast for them. I think if they have a week of practice with him, they make those catches. Um,
That's
uh,
what Ray says. And you're Ralph, you know what's interesting about that? All I keep hearing every day is Mitchell and what's his name? The other guy.
Mechie.
That's every
Yeah, the
day.
jugs
The
machine, the
jugs
jugs
machine, the
machine. Yeah.
jugs machine, the jug. You better turn it up like past
I
five
think
miles an hour.
they better get a refund on that
Oh
jugs
my
machine.
God, it's just
Yeah.
awful. And I'll just give
Well,
Mitchell credit that he made a not beautiful over the shoulder catch on what a pass by
yeah.
Brady Cook along the right sideline. Go ahead, Ray. We interrupted
Well,
you twice.
no, that's all right. But Mason Taylor had a horrible first half. He
Yeah,
was good in the first half. I mean, he picked it up in the second half. I mean, they weren't helping him at all. They were keying on the run. Brees had nowhere to go, and it seemed I was a little disappointed that our coordinator didn't have, I think he was going to go with the same game plan they had when they went down to Miami. We're just going to run on them and do whatever, and move the ball that way, and then pick and choose where we pass. But they clearly came in and said, "You're not running all over us this time," and I just felt like the game plan wasn't solid from the offense. The defense was well, the defense was obviously not what we were hoping, and and I wouldn't say they made questionable calls, but sometimes I didn't understand. You know, I didn't understand their game plan. I didn't understand what they were trying to accomplish on some of their drives. So, but that's pretty normal. So,
Yeah, one thing I would do, Ralph, and look, I could be all over the place, but somehow I would give this Isaiah Williams more reps at receiver. I have a lot more confidence. I mean, I
yeah,
mean,
he
get him,
dropped one or two yesterday too.
yeah, get him on. I still feel
But yeah, get him the ball because he's lightning quick and he's fearless. Yeah,
he
get them
is.
out in space.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Let me just mention, let's get into it, do a deep dive into this Brady Cook. I guess he's from the University of Missouri.
Mizzou, yeah, he was
Mizzou's
there for 4 or 5
undrafted
years.
free
Yeah,
agent. I guess he was a teammate of Membo
that's
for a
right.
few years, so they know each other. He was 14 of 30, 163 yards, two interceptions. He was sacked, I guess, six times.
Six?
I think it was six times. Yeah,
I think a couple of them were because he scrambled and
six
got taken.
times. But
You
I want to also get into that because I touched on it last week too, that our offensive line is so overrated. I don't care what people say. I think they're overrated. I think they
Uh,
might be better, but they're not playing good. They're in the top five giving up sacks in the league. I
I
mean,
know. I just thought it was funny you said overrated
And
because
you
I
can
never rated
imagine
him that high.
how many more sacks they would give up and Taylor avoided with his escaping.
Yeah.
Where I don't know how he did it half the time.
right, right. And with that, and again, I know I keep digressing, but I don't think Brees Hall was right yesterday. He just did not look like he hits a hole. I know he's not Bijan Robinson or the guy from Detroit, but
Or even A Chain. He's not A
he
Chain
just
either.
Yeah.
some days he just looks
Yeah,
like he's
I know.
off, and it's
Yeah.
just terrible. But let's see, Brady Cook, undrafted free agent. I remember in preseason, I thought he looked good. They list him at 6'2" from Missouri. He was the reason that they let go of, I think it was Adrian
Adrian Martinez.
Martinez, who
Yeah.
actually subsequently was let go by the 49ers. Um, I don't know why he wasn't drafted, Ralph. I don't know how much tape you saw of him in college, but I think he does have a lively arm. I did see a quote very early that Phil Simms had said he thought he had a lot more potential than what he showed at Missouri. He didn't think they used him right. So I don't know what that means. I thought, Ralph, maybe you know, he was more of a running quarterback too. And
No, he wasn't. He could run. I'd say on the level like of Zach Wilson, he had that kind of athletic ability. I think he hurt his ankle yesterday at some point. Yeah, he went into the blue tent.
Yeah,
There's
he
no
limped it off. Yeah.
and yeah, and he was sort of gimpy for them, so he wasn't really that mobile at the end of the game. But no, he threw a lot, and I think he was as good a prospect as those middle round quarterbacks like Dylan Gabriel and Will Howard and the guy from Syracuse. And I think they got to give him a look see for the rest of the season. I think, we know what Justin Fields can do, which is nothing. And, Tyrod Taylor, we know what he can do. There's no point in playing. And I just think it'll be interesting. I just watched, I don't know if I said this on air or before we got on. You can Google it. It says every pass that he threw yesterday.
right.
He threw a lot of nice passes. He was throwing to open receivers, which is really an amazing thing because we don't really see that very often with the Jets. I'd
Hey,
say
give
that,
give Tanner Angstrand credit. He schemed a bit where the receivers were open. So I want to give him credit. Go ahead, Ralph.
yeah, the two interceptions, the first one he forced it, he shouldn't have thrown it. The second one, he just underthrew it slightly, but he was throwing to the right guy. And like you said, Mitchell didn't really come back for the ball at all. But I think that was foul. That was preceded by the drop by Mechie, so that wouldn't have even existed if Mechie had caught a pass that any Pop Warner kid could catch. 2 weeks in a row. The guy is not watching the ball into his hands. How long has this guy been playing football? It's unbelievable. Um, he threw a pass down the other sideline to Williams, Obama, which he got a pass interference call on, which I
Yeah,
thought was kind of a ticky-tack
so did
call.
I.
But the ball was right in Williams's hand, and as he fell out of bounds, he bobbled it like every.
Yeah,
But he threw some beautiful passes.
he did.
And for people to get on a guy who wasn't even taking reps during the week, has never been in an NFL field, and they don't expect him to be a little nervous. Ray, I said this to Marty last night. If you remember last year when we played New England in the first game, the Thursday night game, we killed them 24-3. Toward the end of the game, they threw Drake May in. It was the first time he'd been and he was nervous, and he threw a couple of bad passes that could have been picks, but of course the Jets don't know how to intercept passes. But,
Oh,
I mean, come on. I mean, kid's going to be a little nervous. I thought he settled down. He was barking out stuff pre-snap like he knew what he was doing. I don't see Justin Fields ever doing that. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I think it's worth a look. It'll be, I'd much rather tune in and watch him the next couple of weeks than Tyrod Taylor.
Right.
Yeah.
And Ray, give us your take. And I also want to ask Ray, because already I hear whispers that Garrett Wilson, they might let him play. So give me your take on the quarterback and if you think they should let Garrett Wilson play Sunday against the Jaguars.
Well, we go with Cook first. He I liked his second half. He looked like he settled down. He looked like he had more confidence in what was going on and kind of had settled into playing. But he showed the signs of somebody who wasn't getting reps and wasn't getting a lot of throws. I know he's got a good enough arm to make the two touchdown passes or would be touchdown passes he could have had were underthrown. But I know if he'd have laid, I don't know if it was the first or second one to the back of the end zone, it's a touchdown. But
Probably the
he
second one, I thought, the one
probably
that
the
Yeah,
second.
Mitchell didn't
Uh,
fight for. Yeah, the first
but
one,
same with the first one was still underthrown a little bit and
yeah.
it allowed the DB to get back there. If he'd have just, and he's got a strong enough arm too. He's not like Taylor, who I question, how far he can throw a ball. And he made, like you said, he wasn't getting a lot of help in the first half. Like Mason Taylor dropped, I think, two passes, and then, well, the one was behind him, and it ended up being, I think that one ended up getting picked because he tipped it up in the air and the guy caught it. But he got his
That might have been Taylor's pass. That
that was
one.
Taylor's.
He threw another one behind.
Oh, was it?
He threw one behind
I thought
Mason
it was.
Taylor too
Yeah.
later in the game. Yeah,
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of Tyrod, but I thought it was Cook. But um, he in the second half he just looked more settled. He was under pressure a lot. He doesn't really know the offense that well. I mean, he hasn't worked with the guys. I know he's there for practices, but this is why I was saying, Marty, earlier in the year when you
right.
said put him in at halftime. This is why I didn't want to put him in at halftime. This
you're
is why
right.
I want.
Yeah, you are
Now,
absolutely
if
right.
if Taylor's out next week, he's gonna have a whole week of practicing with the starters, getting on the same page with the receivers and everything. I think he'll look. I think he could look a hell of a lot better just because he's gotten the reps. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play some more. I think who knows how good he can be, but I think he can be somebody who could definitely run this offense and might be somebody we can rely on that we don't have to, like Ralph said, trade up for a top pick that we
Right.
that we can rely on. We'll see. I mean, that would be they should play him the rest of the year. Like I said, what do we got to lose?
Right.
We don't
What
need
what
wins.
what's your feeling? And I want Ralph's feeling about Garrett Wilson. Should they play him if he's ready?
I would really hesitate to play him, but if I don't know if they're giving him a say in it or if they're just making the decision themselves. I'd be more along the lines of shutting him down and just saying, look, because he's not the biggest guy. He's somebody who is, because of how athletic he is, it almost leads to some of the injuries he ends up going because he can contort his body so much and he's always making moves
Right.
to some extra yards. Me, I would shut him down, but I have a feeling he's going to play, because
Okay.
he's a competitor.
How about you, Ralph? What's your feeling on
Yeah,
Jack?
I agree with Ray. I'd shut him down, but I think he will play. And obviously Aaron Glenn wants to win games.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, like after last week's game, Mitchell had with 100 yards, and he looked pretty good. I was thinking maybe we don't have to use a high pick to get a receiver. We don't have to rush. We'll just maybe a late second round pick. Well, after this week, it's like, no, we need another receiver.
Yeah.
I don't trust these guys. Mitchell, I'll give a little longer leash to than Mechie because he's got a higher upside and he's
Right.
made a few good catches.
Right.
Mechie's all he's done is catch, little wide receiver screens that anyone can catch, and he hasn't shown any ability to make a really good catch. That's difficult. There was one late crossing catch that he caught, and he was even bobbling that one, but he was able to corral that one. So you know, I look at him and I'm now I feel the same way as I feel with Lazard out there. You just know sooner or later he's going to really screw up in a big situation.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I would play Garrett Wilson only if they start Brady Cook. I would just want to see him with, with a decent receiver that could hold on
Yeah,
to the
that's
ball,
true.
and I would just like to see what he could do. I mean, you want to try to judge a quarterback, but you want to give him some tools, and I'd like to see that. And it's funny because I wrote down, and Ralph, I want to start with you in a second because I want to get into these linebackers of the Jets, but you Aaron Glenn's starting to sound like what's his name from you saying the same thing over and over and over again. The press. Who's the guy that was 1 in 615? What's his name? Who's the
Go tight.
Kotai? He's just starting to sound like I keep hearing him. I'm gonna take a look
Look at
at
the
the game
tape.
myself. Yeah, look at the tape. They're playing hard. I got to see what I have to do to get better. I'm going to tell him what he has to do to get better. He's got to get rid of the defensive coordinator. I think he's got to get rid of the offensive line coach. I think he's got to get rid of the linebacker coach. The other guys, I don't know. Definitely the special teams coach. You have to
Keep the special teams coach.
you have to keep him. Yeah, he's phenomenal. But we complained last year about the coaches, and I just see a lot of different things. I know, as a former offensive lineman, I try to pay attention, and I see them doing these crisscrosses and these schemes, and the Jets just are not picking them up. There's just no communication. I'm just very upset. I was upset that, as the game went on, they knew he was going to pass, but it wasn't really a clean pocket. They've got to revamp the coaching staff. They really do. I want to start with Ralph, because Ralph is a very, very big Quincy Williams fan. And Ralph, I just don't see the linebackers improving with this coach. Quincy will make some plays, but I don't see anyone that's really making impact plays. I really don't on defense. Jamie and Sherwood, he's like a stat accumulator. He was credited with 15 tackles,
He's
which is,
amazing.
which is yeah,
15.
which is unbelievable. All I saw is the
That's
back of number
amazing.
44
Yeah,
downfield.
he had a few nice tackles, but 15? Wow.
Yeah. And I just want your opinion, Ralph. I also want to mention, Ray probably knows this, being out in Buckeye country, that it is going to be a good draft for linebackers from what I read and what I hear. Ralph, what's your take on our linebackers?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big Quincy fan. I like to have him on the team because he brings energy and he makes some explosive plays. He's not a perfect player, but I think he's our best defensive player right now, which isn't saying much because they don't have much talent on defense. Yeah, Jamie Short's a stat accumulator. Uh, I guess, what about the guy from Miami, the rookie with the unpronounceable name? Um, he got hurt. I think
Oh, he's good.
he's not bad. I think
AZ Thomas?
no, not AZ Thomas, the
The
linebacker.
unpronounceable name.
Oh, no. I don't think he's that good, Ralph.
Yeah,
I-
he's a little slow. I think he's game, but he's a little slow.
right, right.
Actually, he got hurt, and so did his teammate Tyler Barron got
I thought
hurt.
you were talking about Tyler Barron. Well, he's a waste.
He's useless.
He's just a
I
bum.
hope he's not hurt badly, but yeah, he doesn't belong on the roster.
Right.
He's
Okay. And Ray, I wanted to ask you about our edge pass rushes, and what do you think is going on with these guys? I mean, I don't see really anything that's outstanding. The opposing quarterback has every team we play, they have a clean pocket. What's going on with these guys?
I don't know. I mean, Will McDonald has kind of been streaky and off and on his whole time with us. But Jermaine is a little surprising to me because, that when he was first the beginning of the year, the early half of the season, he at the very least he'd get pressure a lot. I mean, consistently getting pressure, even if he wasn't getting there. And I didn't even hardly. I at one point I wondered if he was even on the field because I had not heard his name hardly at all. But why? It's probably got to do with the scheme too.
Right.
Wilkes, I'm not sure. I think we got to just that's one of the first moves they got to make in the offseason is a defensive coordinator. But and maybe they'll bring in Matt Patricia because he's made OSU's defense other than against Indiana this past week. But even then, the defense wasn't bad. They held Indiana to
13
13.
points. Yeah,
So
that's
yeah, he wasn't bad by any means. But
Ray,
he
Ray, Ray, I want to interrupt you just to ask you because I think all Jet fans are on the same page as far as Keith Wilkes. Is it Keith
Steve
Wilkes?
Wilkes,
Keith Wilkes,
Jamal
right? Right.
Wilkes, yeah,
he
Silk
yeah.
Wilkes from
Big
UCLA,
Wilkes.
yeah.
But Ray, if I remember right, and maybe one of you guys could verify this, in Detroit, they were calling for Aaron Glenn's head during that first season. He was defensive coordinator. So I'm wondering if he's going to use that as an excuse to keep Wilkes. I hope he isn't. What's your take, Ray? What do you
I
think?
don't get the I don't get the impression that Aaron's like that he's going to keep him around because he isn't like Aaron was kind of new to it when he got to Detroit. I don't think he was the defensive coordinator in New Orleans. I think he became the defensive coordinator in Detroit, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was a defensive coach in New Orleans. But Wilkes has been around. It's not
Oh
like
yeah, yeah, we know that.
so he knows his history.
Yeah,
Uh, and he
I,
knows Patricia's history. I would make a run at Patricia if I were him. But
you know who I would inquire about the defensive backs coach for Denver, Jim Leonard. He's been moving around.
yeah, well, he might be a good choice because
Hmm.
a lot of his success came under Rex, so he knows, what kind of defense.
Marty, one of Marty's all-time favorite players.
He
He loves
is.
Jim
I love
Leonard.
that.
Yeah,
I'd be okay with that, but
Denver's got a great defense this year.
they
Yeah,
do.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah.
do. But he hasn't been a defensive coordinator, and
He
that's
hasn't, but
a little different. But
yeah, yeah,
he'd bring that style that I like, the attacking style that's
yeah,
and putting pressure on the quarterback so he can't hold on to the ball forever like he did yesterday.
yeah,
I think that's always the key is if you get in the quarterback's face early enough, he's got to throw the ball sooner than he wants to, and things happen. Of
yeah,
course, we'll drop every chance we have to pick the ball off, but that's beside the point. We can at least, waste it down here and there.
yeah. Ralph, do you have any names at all for defensive coordinator?
no, I don't at this
Yeah.
point.
Okay.
You know what? I just wanted to say one thing on. I never thought I'd say this on Jets Rewind. Actually, I thought Michael Clemens had a decent
He
game
did. He
yesterday.
did. I was going to point that out. He did. He's the last two games he's been
A
coming into
different
his own.
uniform.
Yeah. Listen, we have a sponsor for the show now, guys. I want to show you, and the sponsor is me. And it's a new book I've written, T-Ball Myths and Solutions.
Oh, I've been waiting for this one.
Ralph, this is a
Great
winner. You're gonna love
follow-up.
this. It's gonna be out February 1st, 2026, but you could pre-order it right now on Amazon. Anyone you know involved in T-ball, even T-ball parents, if they have kids of T-ball age, they will love this book. I'm gonna put a link down below, and I expect sales to really skyrocket. All right, let's talk about college for a few moments because we are big on the playoffs. We've been pushing it for years, Ralph and I, and they inched in. And one of the very few things I liked about a former president, Barack Obama, he was pushing for the college playoffs. 12 teams, but with the 12 teams, there's always going to be some unhappy college teams. And today or yesterday, it is Notre Dame. So let me have your feelings, Ray. We were talking about it before we went on the air. Let's continue the discussion.
Well, first of all, let me, be clear. My dad went to Notre Dame, so I'm a Notre Dame fan first.
Full disclosure.
But I've been in Ohio since '94, so I do like the Buckeyes. But it's not, I understand why they got screwed, but they got screwed um, because they made all these side deals to get the playoffs to happen because a lot of these conferences wouldn't agree to a playoff without guaranteeing, certain teams, everybody gets in. But if you want a true playoff, it should be the 12 best teams, no matter who the hell they are. Tulane, James Madison are not the best 12 teams. Alabama had 3 losses, but I still think they would have been in if you went by that rule. They still would have been one of the best 12 teams. So, but Notre Dame, they didn't have the strongest schedule. I know everybody gripes about that, and it's not an invalid gripe. But the 2 losses they had were by a total of 4 points, and one of them was to Miami in the first game of the season, which is kind of like a Brady Cook thing. The starter for Notre Dame was a redshirt freshman
And it
who
was at Miami. You lose
at
by three.
Miami.
You lose by that's a draw as far as I'm concerned. You lose by
Yeah.
3 points on the road to a
And
good team. Yeah.
two of Miami's scores came on these, and luck is part of the game. But the one receiver made an unbelievable catch at the goal line, one-handed, that normally that would either drop incomplete or it would have been a pick possibly. And then they had this an interception that turned into either a touchdown or a field goal. It was tipped like I swear 4 times, and then the linebacker caught it, and they turned that into points. So, and they lost by 3, and I think they lost by 1 to Texas A&M, who are
Right. Yeah. Who was like
really
top
good.
three. No, I'm not a Notre Dame fan either, but I think they probably deserve it over Miami. Miami lost to two teams that weren't that great.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah, no, but it's
it's a flawed system.
there's gonna be controversy, no matter if you pick
What you
50
do.
teams, the
Right.
51st team is gonna be.
Exactly.
So I don't mind it because the best teams are in the tournament, the top five teams
Yeah,
probably.
they are. They
Um,
are. And I understood the reasoning. Head to head, Notre Dame lost to Miami, so I get it. But it's not the best 12 teams that are in the playoffs, and that's my gripe with it. But hell, you still get gripes in basketball, even though there's 64.
yeah.
Now they have a 4-team play-in and all that crap. So there's always going to be those kind of arguments.
Ralph, give us your take too. And Ralph, is it necessary now to have these league playoff games, you think?
No, it's a money grab. It's
It is.
ridiculous. And I look at the Indiana thing and I feel like I remember last year when Oregon beat Ohio State out at Oregon by 1 point in a great game. I just said to myself, if they meet again, Ohio State's going to kick their ass. And
Oh,
I feel the same way if Indiana meets Ohio State again, they're going to get their ass kicked
Oh,
because I think they just shot them their bolt emotionally in this game, which doesn't
yeah,
really mean anything. It does
yeah.
to Indiana because they're new to this stuff. But
right.
yeah, I mean, you look at Alabama, Georgia. I mean, Alabama would have been much better off not playing that game because they almost got screwed out of a spot. They play against Georgia, who right now is as good as any team in the country, and I knew they were going to beat them and probably beat them easily, and because they had played. That's another thing. When you beat a team earlier in the year, it's tough to beat them again in the later in the season.
Right. And
So no, they're not necessary at all, but they're making money. So
right. We're gonna go around before we close this out. Even though it's a Jets show, but we're each gonna pick a team from the playoffs. I'm gonna go first because I'm gonna tell you guys you can't pick the same team, and I want to begin. This is what do you call it?
so I can't get Tulane, huh?
Yeah. So I'm gonna pick first, and I'm gonna pick a team because of their defense. And Ralph mentioned them. I'm gonna go with Georgia. I think that they have a good shot to take it all. Their quarterback impressed me, but the defense was phenomenal. So my pick is Georgia. Ray, you go next.
I'm going to go with the hometown team. I think OSU can do the same thing they did last time, which is
Ohio State.
yeah, the home. Yeah, and part of it is because Matt Patricia and their defense has been unbelievable all year. And I mean, if you're going to beat Ohio State, you better hold them to less than 20 points. I'll put it that way. And I was a little shocked at, part of the Ohio State game that shocked me wasn't that they lost, but they were very conservative a couple times when I thought they could have gone for
Well,
for points.
well, Marty was saying last week these teams aren't going to show anything.
Yeah, and I think
Well,
that part of
what
it.
I said is they might hold back. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think they did. I really do. And I think they learned too from the same thing Oregon went through last year when they were the number one overall seed, and then they waited a month to play a
yeah,
game, and the reward was to play Ohio State,
yeah.
which I was like, you're doomed. I,
Uh,
I I felt the same way Ralph did. I said they're gonna beat them if they face them again. and then they ended up facing them as the first
Yeah,
team.
they remember they went out at them like Miami went out at the Jets yesterday. It was like 28-0 in
Yeah,
the in
yeah,
the one quarter.
nothing flying.
Oregon didn't even know what hit them.
No,
It was tough. Yeah.
Ralph, you could pick. I didn't want to screw you.
Well, you know, I'm not looking at the brackets, but would Ohio State play Georgia in the semis? Because they're
they
probably
might, because I heard
because
that
they're probably 2 and 3.
Yeah, they would. They're in the
Ohio
same
Yeah,
State's
which is
bracket.
too bad because they're clearly the two best teams in the
Yeah,
country.
that's
I
what I
mean,
think.
with all due respect to Indiana,
Yeah,
I think Ohio State, the best thing that could happen to them was to lose a close game the other day. Now they're gonna, because they've had a long run of wins, and you've had to figure sooner or later. But I think it's going to come down to Ohio State, Georgia in the semifinal. Whoever wins that game, and I think it's
okay.
a toss-up. Yeah.
There you go. Those are three picks. Ralph
well,
is going
but
for
who
the winner.
can
Go ahead. Go ahead, Ray.
Ralph? No, Ralph, who do you pick to win it though? Who do you think
Oh,
will
who do
win?
I pick to win? I'm going to go with Georgia.
Oh,
Georgia.
okay. Ralph and I finally agreed with something after
Yeah.
55 years. Incredible. Or 65 years. All right, we're going to close this out of Jets Rewind. And don't forget our sponsor. If you could go to Amazon and pre-order it, I'm sure you'll love it. It's got some great reviews. Anything else you want to add the last second for the Jets at all? Brady Cook, Damian Shaw.
The only thing I'd say is Google every Brady Cook pass. It's interesting to watch it again. And I watched a couple of them in slow motion because I couldn't tell if they dropped them or not, and they were drops. I mean, it was unbelievable. They said six. It was at least six.
I thought
Yeah,
it
I was
was
gonna
eight.
say I thought there were a
It's,
couple others.
I mean, he would have had over 60% passing percentage. It was, I don't know what was going on. It was crazy. It was
But
just
Ralph, how many of those, I've been reading on the internet were because of he didn't have the touch, maybe one or
I would
two.
say there were 2 or 3 that he threw a
Okay.
little hard, but
But catchable, catchable.
Oh,
catchable. Like I
definitely.
said, if they work with him for a week, they'll get his velocity down because it was like night and day going from Taylor to him. So I think
Right.
that will be corrected to a
Okay.
degree. I can't trust the M&M boys totally, but
No, no, that's why I want Garrett Wilson back, and let's put
yeah, I think
Jay
that's a
Williams.
good point, Marty. And I
Yeah.
also think having Cook over Taylor because Cook can make more passes than Taylor. Taylor, a lot of passes he can't make. So it would also give us a little more of an idea about these wide receivers. Like yesterday, a couple of, Mitchell made that nice over the shoulder long
Yes.
catch.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. We'll see more of that.
Uh,
He's going to make mistakes
yeah, and I
because he's
just
young and because the team is lousy around him.
right, and I just want to warn Jet fans if it does come to fruition that they start, and I don't want to get emails that, oh, look what he did. He's going to throw interceptions and he's going to get sacked. That's going to happen. But let's see what he does if he sees the field, he hits the receiver, he releases the ball. That's what you're looking at so far. And again, what I liked is how he improved as the game went on. Ray, any closing thoughts on the Jets or Brady
Yeah.
Cook or anything else?
Yeah. Well, with Brady Cook, I think a week, if Taylor's out next week, he's going to have the whole week. They'll be more used to his passes. I think they'll hang on to him. I think they're going to be used to the velocity, the difference, and things like that. I think he'll have, in that respect, I think it will be a better week for him. As far as the game itself, the one thing that we didn't talk about that drove every Jet fan nuts was when I don't even know his first name, the linebacker Walker had the pick six from the two
Oh,
yard
God.
line. But if he'd have been because he was a linebacker, he kind of went at the guy. If it had been a DB, he'd have jumped the route and
Not
been in
our
front of
DBs.
Yeah, that's
not
true.
ours, not ours, but a DB.
Yeah, I
Right.
know that was a real
He kind of
sinner.
had to battle the guy for the ball and it went down. If he'd have just jumped the route and been in front of him, he was in the end zone. I mean, it was a perfect
Right.
Well, he
play.
probably would have muffed the,
He would have loved it. We would have
stone
done
hands, but
it. But
between
but that
that
was
one and the one that Tua threw, where we thought was a backward pass. I mean, those
yeah,
there were
wasn't it?
inches from 14 points right there.
Right.
I still think it was a backwards pass. I'm
I
not
don't I
sure.
think it was I don't think it was or it was too close to change it. That's what
No.
I think. I just want to mention one last thing, and I think he's a good guy, whether you think he's good at his craft or not. It felt horrible what happened to Daniel Jones.
Oh, yeah.
He's playing with apparently a broken fibula, which I don't understand. And
Achilles.
huh?
That was his Achilles.
Well, wait, no, but he went into the games. He had a fractured fibula he's been playing on for 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Slight fracture, and apparently because he's favoring the other
Oh,
leg,
yeah.
Yeah.
that's what happened. And I think he's a good guy. After the first 4 games, he was really on the path for MVP.
Well,
And,
among other players, he was.
right, right. And this could have happened at a worse time because he only had a 1 year contract and he's got a lot of rehabilitation. So we all want to wish him well from Jets Rewind. Um,
Well,
Go ahead,
we
Ray.
do, but it couldn't have happened at a better time for the Jets because
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
if
That's
they
true.
lose out, we move up.
Yeah,
Oh, their schedule is brutal. They're going to lose most of their games for the
I
rest of the year.
I'm
well, they
hoping.
might look. Riley Leonard could be the next greatest.
Riley Leonard, can you imagine
From,
that? Yeah, yeah.
isn't that something? Yeah. So was it Riley Leonard? He went from Notre Dame to Duke.
Notre Dame. No, he went from Duke to Notre
Duke to
Dame.
Notre Dame. Okay, there you go. I had it backwards.
Is it
All
Duke
right.
or Wake Forest? I
I
thought,
think it was Duke. I could
It
be
might
wrong.
have been. It was might have started at Wake Forest. I'm not
yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
The way they jump
these
around
days.
now.
See, Ralph, for these days, all the colleges, Elgin Baylor was ahead of his time. Ray went to all those colleges back then. All right, for Ray Clifford, Ralph Schrager, Marty Schupak, Jets Rewind. It's going to be Jets and Jaguars. Let's hope Brady Cook takes first team repetitions this week. And anyone that has any access to Aaron Glenn, Aaron, you have nothing to lose. Play the kid.
Go for it.
Until next time.